Aliens captured a man, but not just any man. They thought they were in control, in their cold metal room, with their questions, their threats, their power. He just smiled. He leaned back, and in 30 minutes, they would lose everything. What happened inside that room is still whispered about across the galaxy. And the scariest part? It all started with one question that no alien should have ever asked. Welcome to Predator Protocol. I'm your storyteller tonight, the voice behind the shadows. And this is a story made for those who live for danger, for those who know humans are never as weak as they look. So, let's begin. The room was cold, not the kind of cold that came from winter winds, but the cold of metal walls, recycled air, and alien eyes watching from behind glass. They called it the interrogation chamber. Humans would call it a trap. 2 guards shoved him into the chair. Subject 7142, a man in his 30s, hair messy, face calm. His wrists locked into glowing cuffs that hummed with alien energy. He didn't flinch. He didn't speak. He just looked around. The lead interrogator entered. Captain Vera, tall, statuesque, with smooth, shimmering skin that shifted colors with every move. Her uniform was tight, high-collared, yet somehow managed to draw every eye in the room. Her heels clicked against the metal floor as she approached him. "Human," she said, her voice like silk sliding over steel. "You will answer my questions, and you will answer them now." The man leaned back slightly, his eyes not leaving hers. "Will I?" he said softly, almost like a challenge. Vera's eyebrow rose. She was used to humans breaking in minutes. They cried. They begged. This one was smiling. From the side, a young alien officer whispered to his colleague, "Why is he staring at her like that?" Vera ignored them and tapped the glowing table. The hologram flared to life. Images of Earth, human weapons, strange devices found in recent raids. "Where did you get this technology?" she asked. The man tilted his head. "Depends," he said, his voice low and slow. "Are you asking as the captain or as the woman?" The room went silent. One of the guards blinked in confusion. A junior officer almost dropped her datapad. Vera's lips pressed together, but there was the faintest trace of color in her cheeks. "You will not distract me with human games," she said. But she adjusted her stance, just slightly, as if aware of his eyes. He smiled wider. "I'm not playing games," he said. "Well, not yet." The control deck above the chamber filled with murmurs. Generals leaned forward, watching the feed. One of them hissed, "He's not afraid. He's provoking her." Vera gestured to a guard. A small needle appeared, glowing with a blue chemical. "Truth serum," she said. "This will loosen your tongue." He watched the needle approach, then looked back at her with a grin. "You sure you want to loosen my tongue, Captain?" The guard hesitated, glancing at Vera. Her jaw tightened. "Proceed." The needle touched his skin. Then nothing happened. His voice was calm, steady. "You really think your little toys work on us? We've been drinking worse stuff since the Middle Ages." One of the guards frowned. "Middle Ages?" Vera waved for silence. She leaned closer, until her face was only inches from his. "I could make this very unpleasant for you." His smile didn't fade. "I could make this very pleasant for you." For a brief second, her breath caught, and she hated that it did. Her eyes narrowed. "You are trying to get inside my head." He shrugged. "I'm already there." The holograms shifted to new images, alien soldiers fighting on strange planets. Vera spoke sharper now. "How many humans are like you? How many of your kind can resist our methods?" His gaze flicked over the images, then back to her lips. "You don't want to know that answer, because then you'd have to admit You're losing. Vera straightened, pacing around the table, her heels echoing in the chamber. Her crew watched her closely. The generals above whispered, "She's not controlling this. He is." Finally, she stopped behind his chair. Her voice came from over his shoulder. "Last chance, human. Tell me the source of your strength." He leaned forward, letting the cuffs pull tight against his wrists. Then he whispered, slow enough for only her to hear, "You." Her body froze for half a heartbeat. His words burned in her ears. Her mind flashed. Was it an insult, a tease, or something else? She walked back into view, mask of control firmly back in place. "Enough," she said. "Tomorrow, we see how strong you really are." The guards unlocked his chair and yanked him to his feet. As they led him away, his smirk returned. "Careful, Captain," he said over his shoulder. "You might enjoy finding out." Vera stood still, watching him disappear through the doors, her heart beating faster than she would ever admit. Above, the generals whispered to each other, "Tomorrow, he breaks." But none of them noticed. Vera wasn't so sure anymore. The cell door slid open with a hiss. The human stepped inside, guided by two guards who avoided his eyes. He sat on the cold bench, calm, almost bored. The cuffs still glowed around his wrists. In the observation room above, Vera watched the feed. She hated how steady his heartbeat had been through the entire interrogation. No fear spikes, no stress tremors, only that damned smirk. She had broken warriors, assassins, even alien warlords. But this man, he made her feel like she was the one under questioning. Her second-in-command stepped forward. "Captain, if I may, tomorrow, perhaps a physical persuasion method?" Vera didn't look away from the screen. "You mean torture?" "Yes, Captain." She thought for a moment, then shook her head. "No, not yet." Down, in the cell, the human leaned back against the wall, eyes half closed. Then, he spoke. "Captain, you still watching me?" Vera stiffened. He had no microphone, no reason to know she was watching, but he said it like he knew. "Because," he continued with a lazy grin, "you're starting to look like you enjoy this." One of the generals in the control deck snorted. "Cocky little—" Vera raised a hand for silence. Her eyes narrowed, but deep down, she felt the heat in her cheeks again. An hour later, she entered the cell herself. No guards, just her. The human opened one eye, smiled. Finally, some privacy. She ignored the comment, stepping closer. "You think you're clever, but every human we've captured eventually talks." He tilted his head. "And every alien who's tried to break me ends up learning something new about themselves." She folded her arms, leaning against the wall. Her uniform tightened as she moved, and she saw his eyes track the motion. She hated that she didn't hate it. "You are stalling," she said. "You're trying to make me curious." He smirked. "Oh, you're already curious." Her fingers twitched at her side. She wanted to deny it, but something about his voice made her pulse quicken. Vera walked closer, slow, deliberate steps, until she stood right in front of him. "Tell me where you got your strength, and maybe I'll let you keep some of it when we're done." He looked up at her, unblinking. "You think my strength comes from weapons, training, tech?" He leaned in, lowering his voice. "It's none of that." She waited. He didn't finish the sentence. She hated how that made her want to lean closer. The silence stretched, until he finally smiled and whispered, "You'll find out tomorrow." Her eyes narrowed. "You won't survive tomorrow." He grinned. "Then you better hurry and find out tonight." Her breath caught again. She stepped back quickly, regaining her posture. This man was dangerous, not because of his body, but because of his words. Later in the strategy room, the generals argued. "He's manipulating you, Captain. We should sedate him. He's baiting for time. He knows something critical." Vera listened, but her mind kept replaying his voice, the way he said tonight. That night, when the ship went into sleep cycle, Vera walked the corridor alone. Her footsteps stopped in front of the cell door. Her hand hovered over the panel. Her heartbeat matched the hum of the lights. Inside, he was sitting on the bench, waiting, as if he knew she would come. When the door slid open, he looked up and smiled slowly. Took you long enough. The feed from the cell cameras went dark. Someone had cut the power. No one in the control room knew what happened next. But the next morning, the guards found Vera standing alone in the cell. She didn't speak. She just said, "Tomorrow, the real interrogation begins." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were different now. The morning light aboard the alien warship was artificial, cold, blue, and buzzing faintly from the overhead panels. Vera entered the interrogation chamber first. Her uniform was as sharp as ever, but something about her eyes had changed. The human was already there, seated in the same glowing cuffs, his legs stretched out like he was lounging in a bar, not in an alien prison. He gave her that same smirk. "Morning, Captain. Sleep well?" Her lips pressed into a thin line, but the tiniest twitch betrayed her. She had slept badly, because of him. From the control deck above, the generals whispered, "She's losing composure. She needs to end this fast." Vera ignored them. She sat across from him, leaning forward, elbows on the table. "This is your last session, human. You give me what I want today, or I take it." He chuckled. "I'm fine with you taking what you want." Her jaw clenched. "Information." He leaned closer, his voice low and teasing. "Is that all you want?" For the first time, she didn't respond immediately. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the ship's engines. Then she tapped the table. A holographic projection appeared, a detailed map of human settlements across several planets. "We know you've been moving faster than your species should be able to. We know you've been winning battles you shouldn't win." He studied the map, then looked back at her. "Maybe you should ask why." She frowned. "That's what I am asking." "No," he said, leaning back. "You're asking for facts, but what you really want is the secret." She hated how calm he was. Even the truth serum had no effect. No heartbeat spikes, no nervous tics. And then, he turned the tables. "Why are you here, Captain?" Her brows knit. "This is my ship, my mission." He shook his head slowly. "No, I mean here, with me, alone." Her voice was cool. "I am here to extract information." He tilted his head, eyes locked on hers. "Or maybe you're here because you've never met a human like me before." In the observation deck, an officer muttered, "He's interrogating her now." A general slammed a fist on the console. "Shut him down." But Vera lifted a hand toward the camera. A silent command. No interruptions. The human's voice dropped even lower. "You want to know how we win? How we survive against species stronger, faster, smarter?" She said nothing, just studied him. "We don't play by your rules," he said. "You think interrogation is about force, threats, fear. For humans, it's about connection. It's about getting inside someone's head, making them forget which side they're on." Her pulse spiked. Was he talking about tactics, or was he talking about her? He leaned forward, and for the first time, his tone sharpened. "Right now, Captain, you think you're interrogating me. But every question you've asked, every time you've leaned in just a little too close, you've given me more than I've given you." Her throat felt dry. She swallowed, keeping her face neutral. "What exactly have I given you?" A slow smile spread across his face. "Enough to end this war." The door suddenly slid open. One of the junior officers ran in, pale and shaking. "Captain, the human fleet. They're here." Vera stood, her mind racing. "How did they—" The human's cuffs suddenly unlocked with a click. He stood, stretching his arms like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "Thanks for the hospitality, Captain," he said casually. Oh, and tell your generals. Next time they should pick a better room for secrets. Before she could react, the lights flickered red, the ship's alarm blaring. He took a step toward her, close enough that she could feel his breath. See you soon, Vera. And then, he was gone. The warship shook, a deep rumble that made the metal walls vibrate. Vera's boots were already moving before the alarm stopped echoing. She stormed into the command deck. Status report, a panicked officer replied. 3 human ships. No, 5. Closing fast. They're not answering hails. Vera's eyes narrowed. Shields up, a new voice interrupted from the rear of the deck. Don't bother. She turned. It was him. Standing in the doorway, no cuffs, no guards. Just that same maddening smirk. How did you... she began. He held up a small Ailey in device, her security override keycard. You really should be more careful where you leave your toys, Captain. Her pulse jumped. Her own pocket had been zipped shut. When did he... He strolled onto the deck like he owned it, eyes roaming over the crew, the flashing consoles, and finally, back to her. Nice ship. You run a tight crew. Shame I had to. Loosen things up. The deck lights flickered again. On the main screen, human fighter craft swept in close, their hulls painted with predatory jaws and sharp teeth. They moved fast. Too fast for the alien targeting systems. Vera took a step toward him. You called them here, didn't you? He smiled. I didn't have to call. They've been here for hours, hiding in your blind spots. The room fell silent. Even the generals on the HoloLink froze. He walked to the central table, tapped the console, and every alien in the room gasped. On the hologram, the entire alien fleet was mapped, from the inside. Every location, every patrol route, every weak point. How? An officer stammered. Vera knew the answer before anyone said it. You've been collecting intel, since the moment you stepped on my ship. He gave her a slow nod. And you've been helping me, without even knowing it. Her fists clenched at her sides. She hated the heat creeping into her cheeks again. Hated that she couldn't tell if it was anger or something else. He stepped closer to her, just enough to break personal space. You're good, Captain. The best I've met. But you underestimated one thing. She tried to hold his gaze. And what's that? He leaned in, his voice just for her. How much I enjoy winning, when the stakes are you. The ship rocked again, this time harder. A voice shouted, Boarding parties! Human soldiers on deck 6! Vera spun toward the lifts. The humans stepped beside her like they were partners, not enemies. You're going to need me if you want to keep your ship. She glared at him. Why would you help me? His grin deepened. Because it's more fun to beat you when you're still breathing. They reached the lower deck together. The corridor was chaos. Human soldiers in dark armor clashing with alien guards. Blaster fire lit the walls. The human moved with speed and precision, dropping 2 guards before they could even aim. Vera fired at one of the intruders, covering his flank without thinking. He glanced back at her, amused. See, we make a good team. She ignored the comment, blasting another soldier. But she couldn't ignore the way his shoulder brushed hers as they fought back to back. When the fight paused, she grabbed his arm. This ends now. You surrender, or I end you here. He stepped closer. So close their faces were inches apart. You're not going to shoot me, Vera. Her grip on the weapon tightened. Why not? His eyes locked on hers, and his voice dropped. Because you still want to know what happens when I really let loose. Before she could answer, the corridor door exploded inward. A massive alien war mech stepped through, weapons primed. Even the human smirk faded. Well, he said, rolling his shoulders, guess we find out together. The mech's steps were heavy. Each one made the floor vibrate beneath their boots. Steam hissed from its joints. 2 glowing red eyes locked on them like a predator sizing up prey. Vera raised her weapon. The human didn't. Instead, he smiled. You take left leg. I'll take the pilot, he said. She gave him a sharp look. That thing is fully armored. He winked. So am I. The mech's arm cannon lit up. Vera dove to the side as the blast scorched the wall where she'd stood. The human ran toward it. For a heartbeat, Vera thought she'd just watched him commit suicide. But then he slid under its legs, planting 2 small charges on the knee joints. The mech turned, swinging its massive fist down at him. He caught Vera's eye through the chaos. "Little help, Captain?" She fired at the mech. His sensors. The shots sparked against its armor, but one struck close enough to make it stagger. The human used the moment to climb up its back like it was a jungle gym. Vera found herself staring at the way his body moved. Fast, controlled, every motion deliberate. She shook her head. Focus. He reached the pilot hatch, tearing it open with a small plasma cutter he'd borrowed, probably from her armory. The pilot, an alien twice Vera's size, lunged at him. The human didn't even draw a weapon. He headbutted the alien so hard the helmet cracked. Vera's mouth opened slightly in surprise. He tossed the unconscious pilot out, then looked down at her. "Need a ride?" She hesitated. "You're insane." "Yeah," he said, grinning. "That's why I win." He guided the mech forward, its cannons blasting through the incoming wave of human and alien fighters alike. Vera jumped onto its shoulder, firing her weapon at enemies in the upper decks. It was a dance, her shots covering his movements, his steering keeping her in position. They didn't need to speak. They moved like they'd been fighting together for years. Finally, the last of the boarding soldiers retreated, leaving smoke and silence in their wake. The human powered down the mech and looked up at her. "You still think you can beat me in an interrogation?" She gave a small smirk. "You still think you can beat me in a fight?" His grin widened. "Guess we'll have to settle both at the same time." She hopped down, standing face to face with him. "I could still have you thrown in the deepest cell on this ship." He leaned in slightly. "You could, but you won't." "Why not?" she asked, voice low. His eyes locked on hers. "Because right now, you're wondering what I'll say next." Before she could reply, her comms unit crackled. "Captain, the human fleet is falling back, but they left a signal beacon inside our shawl." Vera's heart sank. "What kind of beacon?" The voice on the comm hesitated. "A tracking beacon. Something big is coming, Captain." The human's smile was gone now. He stepped closer, speaking only for her. "You need me for what's coming next, and I'll help you." She narrowed her eyes. "On what terms?" He smirked again. "You'll find out, when I tell you." The hum of the ship's engines deepened, a low vibration that seemed to crawl up the walls. Outside the main viewport, a shadow grew, blocking the stars. Vera stepped onto the command deck. Every officer was frozen, eyes wide. It wasn't a ship. It was bigger. The human strolled in behind her, hands casually in his pockets. "Ah, so they sent that." She didn't look at him. "What is it?" He gave a slow smile. "Your worst nightmare, and my old friends." The thing in space turned, revealing a fortress ship the size of a small moon. Its hull was jagged, built for war, bristling with weapons. Vera had only heard rumors. Pirates. Raiders. But even the alien empire feared them. "How do you know them?" she asked. He glanced sideways at her. "Because I used to run with them. Before I upgraded to bigger games." The control deck went silent. She didn't know if he was serious, or just trying to get under her skin again. The comm crackled with a voice, deep and mocking. "Captain Vera, you have something we want. Hand over the human, and we might let your ship live." Every officer turned toward him, some with fear, some with suspicion. Vera's jaw tightened. She muted the comm. "Why do they want you?" He shrugged. "Let's just say, I owe them money, and maybe a few broken hearts." She shot him a glare. "This isn't a joke." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "No, Captain. This is an opportunity." "Opportunity?" she repeated. He nodded. "You keep me on your ship. They'll tear you apart. You give me to them. They'll kill me." But if you let me handle it, we both walk away. And maybe I owe you instead. Vera folded her arms. And why should I?
Trust you? He smiled, slow and deliberate. Because you're starting to enjoy not trusting me. Before she could respond, the pirate fortress fired a warning shot, a beam that sliced past the ship, shaking it like a toy. "Captain," an officer shouted, "shields won't hold if they hit us directly." She turned back to him. "What's your plan?" He leaned in, speaking just for her. "Let me board them. Alone." Vera blinked. "That's suicide." "Not for me," he said. "I speak their language, and I know exactly where they keep their real treasures." The deck erupted with protests. The generals on the hololink shouted that it was madness. Vera stared at him, searching his face. He didn't look afraid. He looked excited. "You do this," she said slowly, "and you come back with the pirates gone. Then maybe I'll owe you something." His smirk returned instantly. "Careful, Captain. I collect on debts in very personal ways." She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks warmed. The docking bay lights flared as the human stepped toward a small shuttle. Vera stood at the edge of the platform, watching him suit up. "You try anything that puts my ship in danger," she began. He cut her off with a grin. "I'll buy you dinner first." The shuttle door closed. Through the viewport, she saw his figure framed in the cockpit, relaxed, confident, like a man going to see old lovers instead of mortal enemies. She hated herself for thinking that she wanted to know exactly how far that confidence went. The shuttle shot into space, heading straight for the fortress. Vera's comms officer looked at her nervously. "What if he betrays us, Captain?" Vera didn't answer. Because the truth was, she didn't know. And that was the most dangerous thing about him. The pirate fortress swallowed the human's shuttle like a beast opening its jaws. Metal clamps locked it in place with a deep, echoing clang. Inside, the docking bay was filled with rough shapes, patched-together ships, crates of stolen goods, and pirates in mismatched armor. Every weapon in the room turned toward him as he stepped out. He didn't raise his hands. He just smiled. "Miss me?" A massive pirate captain pushed through the crowd, 8 feet tall, skin like scarred stone, tusks curling from his jaw. His voice was a low growl. "You've got some nerve showing your face here, human." The human shrugged. "You say that like it's a bad thing." The pirate captain's eyes narrowed. "Give me one reason not to rip your heart out." The human glanced around the docking bay, calm as if he were at a market stall. "Because I brought you something better." The pirates muttered, curious. The captain's tusked mouth twisted into a sneer. "And what could you possibly have for me?" The human stepped closer. "A warship, alien tech, and a captain who doesn't know whether she wants to shoot me or kiss me." The pirates roared with laughter. The captain tilted his head. "You're talking about the alien woman who captured you?" "That's the one," he said, grinning. "Give me an hour, and I'll bring her right here. All I need is your help." Back on Vera's ship, the crew watched the fortress from the main viewport. No weapons fire, no comms, only silence. Vera paced. Her second-in-command stepped up. "Captain, this is a trap." She ignored him, eyes fixed on the pirate fortress. She didn't like not knowing what he was saying, or who he was saying it to. Inside the fortress, the pirate captain leaned close to the human. "You expect me to trust you?" The human smirked. "No, I expect you to need me." The pirate captain studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he grinned. "Fine, human. But if you're lying..." The human cut him off. "I never lie. I just leave out the parts that ruin the surprise." Minutes later, the human walked back toward his shuttle. Every pirate in the bay watched him with suspicion, but no one stopped him. He slid into the pilot seat, the grin never leaving his face. As the shuttle detached from the fortress, he muttered under his breath, "Showtime." When he landed back on Vera's warship, she was waiting. Her hands were clasped behind her back, her face unreadable. "Well?"
she asked. He walked past her, close enough for his shoulder to brush hers. They're expecting us. Her eyes narrowed. Us? Yep, he said. They want to negotiate. And you're the bargaining chip. Her jaw tightened. And you agreed to this? He looked back at her, that dangerous smile in place. Of course, because it's the only way to win, and to prove I'm right about you. She stepped into his space. Right about what? His voice dropped, low enough only she could hear. That deep down, you'd rather have me at your side than any army in the galaxy. Her breath caught before she could stop it, and that was when the comms officer shouted, Captain, the fortress is hailing us. They say the human told them, you'd be delivering yourself. Every eye on the deck turned to Vera, and she realized she had no idea if she was walking into a trap or into his plan. He leaned closer, lips almost at her ear. Guess we're going to find out. Together.